Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain? Who could complain on a day like today? Indeed. Let's wait for our lovely audience, the Breakup gang, to come in. Always takes a few seconds, right? Gotta wait for the chat. I just need to see one comment from YouTube to know we're live and things are working well. But YouTube has a bit of a delay with the way this thing works. But that's okay. I think I like it better than Restream. For other reasons. But we'll see how this thing's going. We love it, you know? We are headed to Texas later this afternoon, so the broadcast might get it. There we go. We got a YouTuber, but no comment coming through yet. I'm not sure what's wrong with my live chats. There we go. Ohio gozaimasu, Kevin writes. Excellent. Yeah, I got to make sure it goes through, so it's a little bit of a... In the old system, I had a very good, let's call it lag for the audience to come in set up because we had all the comments. That's what I read the comments for. It's sort of give chance to people to come in. We love it, but they're a little slower now, so that's what's going on. Let's make sure this doesn't look properly angled, you know? Dale says, I like this one. This one's good. So, good morning from Regina, Saskatchewan, the city that rhymes with fun. Indeed, Regina rhymes with fun. That's what some people say. Christine, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Bitcoin Deb, LFG, Bitcoiners, B for victory in the house. Bomatan, good morning, Bitcoiners. Drew, morning awakened ones. We love to hear it. We've got John Clontz here. Good morning from Garden of the Gods, Colorado Springs. You know, my kids go to their homeschool today, and for much of the year, there's been a couple with 3 children who he's in the Space Force. So he's been here at McGill University doing Space Force stuff from the United States. I guess we have some kind of space law, something stupid going on here. So he's been here for the year, and his next deployment is in Colorado Springs. Just give me a second. So I just had an alarm going off out there. So he'll be moving to Colorado Springs, and so yeah, just been talking about Colorado Springs lately. We love it. Sean recommends. Good morning, everyone. P-Man, fine day to you all. Fine day to you, P-Man. Fine day to you. I hope you're doing well. All right, let's acknowledge. We've got a pretty good sunrise. Not a beauty, you know, the sunrise is so far, and that's all great, right? But that's okay. The sun's up, and Bitcoin's running. We're doing great, everyone. Let's have a coffee. Talk about what's new. There we go. That's what I needed. A little bit of coffee. All right, time for Moscow time. What do we got today? Some excellent ones. You know, I've been into this whole new. It's hot. Like, what would we do without the mainstream news these days? You know, where's it hot? Where's it hot? So here they're letting us know in Reuters. Guess what? The experts are here to tell us where it's hot. Everyone. Experts warn of hail, whirlwinds in Mexico after new heat wave record in the capital. And it was like 36 or something. The new heat wave is like Mexico City in May. That's really going on. And the number was 36 Celsius, so like 95. Mexico's hot. But of course, Axios has to get on the Mexico's hot story, right? What are they saying? Mexico faces triple threats of drought, water shortages, and deadly heat wave as officials step up efforts to try and save the monkeys from killer heat. They're still with the monkeys. It's so hot in Mexico. All the monkeys are dying. They just give up. It's 90s. It's 95 degrees. What are they going to do? Now, Pete Buttigieg has an answer, right? This is also from Axios. Pete Buttigieg says, climate change is already upon us and affecting transportation. If you read the article, Buttigieg says it's the turbulence. Climate change has increased the turbulence on the airplanes. That's why everyone's dying of turbulence now. This one's very good too. Now, Pete knows about the climate change, right? It's already upon us, right? And he's out there letting everyone know it's hot in Mexico, it's hot in India, it's hot in Pakistan, it's hot in Thailand, it's hot in Texas, it's hot in Florida. Climate change is upon us. But some people are worrying that it's not sticking, right? It's not sticking. Like they're warning everyone about what's hot and what to avoid. But the New York Times here, right, saying don't give up. Don't give up, Biden, right? Biden, okay, he's not going to give up on climate change. This is what the New York Times says. Biden underestimates how much Black Americans care about this issue. It's climate change. He's not talking about climate change enough, they say. So the New York Times saying, we know, the New York Times, they know what Black Americans are worried about. And it's not inflation, those idiots. Who would be worried about that? It's climate change. Everybody knows. Everyone knows that's what everyone in the Bronx is talking about. Like when Trump went to the Bronx the day, they were like, climate change, what are we going to do? Right? So it's everywhere. It's everywhere. That's what's going on. So now we know that that's the issue. So Steve Malloy says Democrats have been lying to Blacks for so long that they're now lying to themselves about Blacks caring more about the climate hoax than the high cost of historic gas and food inflation caused by Biden's climate agenda. It's very good. Now, some people can say the media, right? Just like they're saying they're not talking to Black people enough about the climate change. So the media is failing. And we heard all these stories for a long time. Like, what are we going to do when they fire people from the news? We're not going to have hard-hitting journalism. It's so sad when Vice goes out of business because there's not going to be any Vice articles. And it's so sad when people at the Washington Post got laid off. And remember when they laid off people at Business Insider? And they were like, what are we going to do with the journalism? What's going on? We're not going to have hard-hitting journalism. Well, they have it. Okay, what are we worried about? Business Insider. This is a headline from this weekend. Google AI said to put glue in pizza. So I made a pizza with glue and I ate it. So, we might be on the cusp of something big here. Like if we didn't, bugs could be in the flour. We didn't know about that until we started making bug flour. What if it is all about glue? What if glue is the missing secret ingredient? I see all these articles. I see all these Barstool, Dave Portnoy with this pizza thing. And, he's always talking about the carriage, right? Does the pizza hold up? When he holds it, does it stick? When he holds it by the crust, does it stay flat or does it droop? Droopiness in Dave Portnoy's One Bite Challenge for pizza is a bad thing. So now we're talking about glue. It might really get you a better Dave Portnoy review. So, what do we know, right? But here he is. I don't know what we would do without this kind of journalism. There it is, Business Insider. Now, I know people were giving Elon Musk a hard time last week, right? I don't know if you saw this. He was answering questions at some, I don't know what it was, about water or something like that. He did a conference last week. He was on stage and they had some journalists there. And one of the journalists said, I'm from Business Insider and you're losing money everywhere. And he just stopped them. And he said, Business Insider, you're fake news. So sit down. Right. And the journalist listened to him. That was good on the journalist. Like she didn't want to cause a fuss. So she just sat down. She said, OK, thank you. And listened to him and sat down and shut her mouth. So that was like, but like really Business Insider, if they're not reporting on all of Elon Musk's failures, how would we know? How would we know? And if they weren't talking about this hard-hitting journalism about putting glue in pizza because your Google AI told you, how would we know? Okay, so we need them. We need Business Insider, right? And some people say, why do we need Business Insider? Everyone is already reminding us of the climate change thing. Well, Pope Francis let us know this week what really is going on, and it's because you're stupid. Okay, if you're out there denying it, you're dumb. You're stupid. The Pope said you're dumb. You're dumb. You're stupid. Okay, listen to the Pope. The Pope, guys, is on your side. Okay, he loves you. He's great. Okay. So there you go. Now this one's good. I don't know what the Pope is going to say about this. This is people are saying in the UK, this comes from The Guardian, right? So now, it's a very sad day in America. It wasn't just Memorial Day yesterday. It's also Saint George Floyd died, 4 years ago. The saint I say we rename Harvard and Yale and Princeton and all the things after George Floyd. They should all be known as George Floyd College from now on. I just don't understand. They wanted the DEI. They wanted to remember it. Rename Harvard, rename Yale, all slavers, George Floyd College. That's what we need. Now, we got to ask the Pope, though, about this, right? I just said the Pope said it. If you're, he's smart. He knows you're dumb. If you believe in climate change, you're stupid, right? Because they're dumb. But I want to know what he says about this, because people are saying that we've got to redesign the Saint Michael trampling on Satan image, right? It's this one here, right? So this is the Saint Michael trampling on Satan. But they're letting us know over in the Guardian that there's calls to redesign it, right? Because it's offensive. What's really going on here is that the Saint Michael standing on Satan is reminding us all a little too much of George Floyd, because it's like, look at the racism in there. They made Satan look like a black man, so like, I just want to get a good glue pizza, and I don't want, when I'm looking at religious symbols eating my glue pizza, I don't want to be reminded of George Floyd. I mean, really, right? So I get it. All right, Axios, because we're stupid and we don't believe, we deny climate change and all this stuff, right? Dumb people. Well, they're out here letting us all know that they got mysteries. There's stuff they can't, even if they have a free independent media that's out looking at the pizza and the glue, and if we still have that, right, it can't be that bad, right? So they're letting us know that they do have a bit of mystery out there. They're not really sure, right? Why old people, this is from the Mail Online, why old people's illnesses are soaring in youngsters, from type 2 diabetes and arthritis to even early menopause and strokes. So they're just not, they just can't crack it, So I hope with the combination of the free media that they keep espousing, they'll figure it out, right? But Axios just as worried, right? Driven partly by an alarming increase in cancer among young Americans, new cancer diagnoses are expected to top 2 million for the first time in 2024, but it's a mystery. What changed? I don't know. It's climate change. I'm pretty sure, guys. Pretty sure. Now, it's not just about, climate change and, all the cancer and the diabetes, right? There's other things to worry about. There's other thing. We're not done worrying. Okay. Washington Post letting us know. I haven't heard about this yet, but we got to know it. Okay. So remember, we had the Omicron, and COVID had variants and all these different kinds, and with Delta, right? They had different kinds, but it was a new one for just in time for the summer. Okay. Washington Post letting us know, despite, they call them flirt variants. Flirt. They're just, I'm just flirting with COVID, right? Despite flirt variants, this may be the first COVID wave with little federal pressure to limit transmission or data to even declare a surge. Geez, Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness, right? They're here for us. They're letting us know. They're going to defend our right to know exactly if there's a COVID surge or not. Because, sometimes it's hard to tell if you're in a pandemic when there's no signs and no one needs any care and no one needs any help and no one's sick, and the people who are dying are very clearly old and obese, right? So I know it's hard to get through all that, but we can keep testing the groundwater. We can see if there's traces of the virus in our pee, and then maybe we can protect ourselves from this raging virus, right? Raging, right? All right. So, Washington Post, they're out to help us, right? They're helping us. They're going to defend us against the flirt variant. They're going to make sure we can get some good glue pizza, maybe a bit of crickets in there. That's also good. But their real job, right, just like they say in their headline, is democracy dies in darkness. They're here to defend democracy, guys. They're here to fortify democracy. The Washington Post, they're amazing. Here's what they say, right? Really worried about Russia and democracy and America, right? Opinion by Leo Hochstader. The question isn't whether Russia is winning the propaganda war in Europe. This is the question, guys. It's whether democracy is up to the challenge of holding everyone accountable. Do we have the democratic safeguards? I don't know. Is everyone accountable? Is everyone accountable for the Russia collusion hoax? Is everyone accountable for saying the 2016 election was a scam? I don't know. I haven't seen much, right? There's more, though. Russia is flooding Europe with disinformation. U.S. elections are next. They're next. This is also good. Now, here's Washington Post talking about debunk, the Mike Benz business model about debunking misinformation. Washington Post capitulating a little. Debunking misinformation failed. Welcome to pre-bunking. Election officials around the world are adopting pre-bunking campaigns. Remember how good the pre-bunking campaign went with the Hunter Biden laptop? Remember, they pre-bunked it. Remember, they said, you will see Russian disinformation, and it might look like gas deals with Ukraine. And then just a few months later, so they pre-bunked it perfectly, right? It's why I always tell you about persuasion and how important it is, right? There's more, though. There's more. Washington Post. Election officials and researchers from Arizona to Taiwan are adopting a radical playbook to stop falsehoods about voting before they spread online, amid fears that traditional strategies to battle misinformation are insufficient, right? Because they've been so good. They've been so good. What are they doing, right? This one's good too, because we had all these speeches yesterday. We had Biden out there at the things, Memorial Day, going on about stuff. It was great. And here's what Axios says. Defended in a battle between autocracy and democracy. Between the greed of a few and the rights of many, Biden used his Memorial Day speech to praise democracy and how it has helped shape America. So good, so good. Now, we could be worried about democracy, but CBS News has the answer, okay? They've provided the answer here. And what it's really about is about facial recognition and spying technology, right? That's what they say here. So advocates say that technology, including facial recognition, will lead to improved security and efficiency. But some remain concerned about privacy, everyone, okay? But those, I think you can categorize those people in the same group that Pope was talking about. They're stupid, right? Who would be worried about privacy? Come on, it's so great. So perfect, right? All right. Now, where should I go with this? Oh, yeah. No, we got to read these ones. So I have a few more Moscow Times here before we get into our theme for the day. This one's great, right? So, some people have been saying, no. When we let, they don't call them illegals. They're what was the term again? They are status challenged people, like they don't have immigration status challenged, immigration status challenged, something like that. So here, what they're talking about, Illinois, they just passed a big budget yesterday, right? So they got all kinds of people going to Chicago, right? And he's saying, we just passed the largest budget in Illinois state history. Whoa, over 53 billion budget for a state, and then 53 billion for a state, not even a big one. Includes almost $1 billion in tax increases. Ooh, and nearly $1 billion on the migrant crisis. So we actually raised your taxes just to spend on migrants. Oh, I was told that wasn't happening, but who knows? And now we wonder why the following story in Axios is here, right? So, but they're gonna help us. I know this is all about helping us. Okay, this is all about helping us. It's nothing less than helping us. Okay, this is what we know from Axios. All right, right. A more intuitive concept of inflation. Okay, they're going to Axios, right, teaching us about inflation now. What do they have to say, right? A more intuitive concept of inflation is just, am I paying higher prices for things than I used to? Am I, right? Under that definition, inflation can be high even when prices are falling. They're falling, okay? But prices can still be high. Okay, Axios, come on, you figured it out. Thank you. I don't feel any more stress about inflation. It's perfectly over. But they don't really, I don't think they synced up with CBS News. CBS News saying the following this morning, right? Because it was a big barbecue day in America, barbecues, right? Because it was a holiday weekend. This is what they said. Americans will pay an average of just over 10% more this year than in 2023 for barbecue basics. Oh, but inflation's only 2%. And it's actually, if you listen to Axios, it's not there. Even if prices are falling, then it's there. But if prices are going up, it's not there. It's the opposite of what you think, right? So don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And finally, this is the last one we have for the day, right? So I've let you know all about the inflation, it's actually, it depends on how you look at it, right? But actually things are up 10%, but not really. And, the global warming, right? The climate change, but also we got to fortify democracy with that, right? At the same time. So all these things are going on. But the Spectator has the most important news of the day, which is Bitcoin is now a threat to us all, right? Crypto has entered the world of retail investing. So they're letting us know that Bitcoin is a big threat, right? Which is perfect. Which is perfect. Thank you, fake news. Thank you. Thank you. Assalam orange for orange coins. We love it. We love it. Yeah, the implied shared guilt psychological operation. So we're going to talk about psychological operations today. We got a whiteboard again. We like doing whiteboards. It's an old one that I reused. But of course, this weekend, what we got was everyone, because the 2024 elections, indeed, as we've said many times here on the Breakup, everything's starting to center around Bitcoin. And we predicted this 2 years ago, really. I think we were talking about it a lot last summer, but even before. Now, my prediction, when I got that right, and a lot of people saying Nolan got it right. Wow, Nolan's been saying that politics and Bitcoin would be merged in 2024 and that it would be the biggest thing. So we're glad we got that right. But we want to show a little bit of the technique about how we got it right, how we made the prediction. We didn't make the prediction because we believe that it's just because Bitcoin is so awesome and everyone's going to love it. Although we believe that, right? That is what we believe, but that's not how we made the prediction. We didn't make the prediction that everyone would fall in love with Bitcoin instantly and it would help explain everyone's problems and everyone would jump in. It wasn't exactly that. Our prediction was more about this breakup theme, that people are leaving the psychological engine behind fiat and that the psychological engine itself is breaking. And because it's breaking, it's allowing more people to filter out and flee the sinking ship. Now, one of the reasons I made it is because within Bitcoin, our worldview, let's say, has the least amount of adjustment. Because it had the least amount of adjustment to COVID, to the scam 2020 thing, the scam 2016 election, we're able to, let's say, because we're not adjusting as much, because our worldview stays on its tracks, it's a lot easier to continue to make predictions. And one of the ways we're able to make predictions is because we do see things in a psychological engine point of view, right? The psychological engine of Bitcoin lets us run through and run over all of these problems. But we can also predict when these problems will become a major obstacle for people who aren't thinking that way. And the major obstacle becomes the actual psychological breakdown of the group. So just as you were saying here, the guilt psychological, the implied shared guilt psychological operation. So that's exactly what the whiteboard is about today and exactly how we made our prediction. Oops. I don't know how that is up there. Why is that doing that? What the heck? What? Oh, I get it. There we go. So we're talking about the predictability of stuff here, and I'll show you the whiteboard in a second. So the first one I have here is just on the Balaji saying that the Fed is unpredictable monetary policy and Bitcoin is predictable policy. So that's kind of the frame that I'm going with here. How did I make those predictions about where things were headed with fiat, even if my brain is on the Bitcoin standard? Well, it's because the psychological confidence of being able to predict correctly can start, let's say, piling up. Because you continue to get confidence in your worldview, because it continues to anticipate and predict, you're able to sort of strengthen your prediction model. My prediction model for fiat was the psychological engine was going to break, that the group psychology around fiat couldn't hold anymore, and that it would break in all kinds of different ways. So if you keep going here, this is a board I used a long time ago about group psychology and what are the factors that go into making healthy group psychology. And if this could be thought of as a group psychological engine. And what I said was that the fiat psychological engine would break so badly that it would not be able to keep the group psychology of either Republicans or Democrats or anyone else who's continuing to make the worldview out of normal fiat politics, it would fall apart. And you can see it right now, right? You can see this happening around you. For example, when we look at the question of safety and security, right? All of this starts to become an argument to get rid of the Federal Reserve and the fiat system as it is. And by the way, Ron Paul made this prediction, right? He just made this prediction as well. So Ron Paul said the dollar will be rejected, psychologically rejected as a reserve currency this year. So he's making a prediction about what's happening to the US dollar, similar to the prediction we made last year about Bitcoin being front and center. It's sort of the other side of that equation, right? I continue to think that the biggest booster for Bitcoin is the failure of fiat. Just like for some people, it's the failure of crypto, right? That's something that leads people more to be on top of Bitcoin and to make it formative for their worldview. So he's out there predicting. But let's go back to the actual point here about security. So this is what the European Union president, or whatever she's called, the prime minister, not van der Leyen, the prime minister of Estonia, right? Estonia. So here's what she says, right? So she's going on about war and the costs and what's going on over there. And her prediction is that Ukraine must win the war, that we don't need peace talks. So imagine, she's not even out there talking about peace. So the security angle of this healthy group psychology is already broken from its very primordial and keystone principle, right? If security isn't really being guaranteed, and if things are being done that incentivize more insecurity and more war, well, that's a big part of the psychological engine coming apart. It was easy for Americans to not feel the effects of war when it was just, in Iraq, or didn't cost a lot of money and it wasn't spilling out all over the place. But now that it's kind of going all over and it's right in Europe and there's things going on in America that make us think maybe there's people working in America here, the security of Americans and the security of Europeans is in question. And you've got people like her going on that Ukraine must win the war and Russia must understand that it has lost. That's why there's no peace talks needed, she says. There's no incentive for it, right? So she says, this is our plan A, B, and C. Words and sanctions are important, but they are not enough. Ukraine needs weapons, ammunition, and training. It also needs financial and economic support, and it needs it now. Our role and duty are not to continue, but to strengthen and support Ukraine on all fronts. So she's going on about the security piece, but again, that doesn't work anymore, right? It's too difficult, and they've already compromised it. The security is already threatened to such an extent that no one feels safe in any of these parts of the world. So that's a big part of the group psychology falling apart. The next would be status, right? So the status argument, so it goes from security, I'll go back to what it looks like here. It goes from security to status, right? And status and self-esteem, you can start to see are kind of mixed in this equation. And indeed, that's why this thing about Michael Saylor calling them poor, right? People who save their money in fiat being called poor, that is a big knockdown in status. We see it in the colleges. We see the colleges becoming a complete embarrassment, right? The fiat credentialist thing, like I have 25 degrees and I'm a PhD, right? It doesn't do anything for you anymore. The self-esteem, the status that comes from these things are greatly diminished. But also just look at what we saw with for example, libertarians this weekend, right? So the libertarians go out and elect probably the stupidest person they could have after Trump did that hilarious thing. Vote for me. Oh, you like losing, right? You're a bunch of losers who love your 3%. Now, of course, the fake news says Trump gets booed, but go back and remember what Trump did when he went to the libertarian thing this weekend. So first of all, he starts off with that provocative statement, gets booed by them, and attacks the audience. Right? He says, oh, you like losing, right? I get it. You like losing. But then he makes the pitch. He makes the sale, right? So it starts with the I forget what it was for. Oh yeah, cabinet member. He's going to put a libertarian cabinet in the cat. The people are like, okay. And then he does one of the greatest sentences you're ever going to hear in the history of the English language. I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. It's amazing. It's beautiful, like hilarious and beautiful. So now the audience is there like, and then he comes in with the free Ross at the end and they go crazy, right? The only sign they have, their big obsession we all want the free Ross thing, right? And Trump understood it, gave it, offered it, but of course they turn around and elect this idiot. But the libertarians are no different, and I guess Mike Benz had a really good take on it, right? Mike Benz, his take was the following, right? Yep, it's real. This is what I've been saying on my timeline all week. Far too many libertarians espouse principles not from strength, but from a place of weakness and a lonely Sigma male outsiderdom, preening for mainstream pats on the head. Ron Paul is a big exception, not the norm. Can you guys, it's a little too bright. I won't put two on this again. That was an experiment. So there you go, right? The psychological toll that political partisans are feeling by having their thoughts pushed to them from these top-down structures, either a Republican Party or the Libertarian Party, is creating this situation, right? It's creating a place of weakness, or it's maybe not creating it, but expressing that these people are not mentally strong. I've said for a long time that it's Bitcoiners' psychological strength that's going to help us win this war. It's the predictability, just like Balaji said, right? That we can predict. These libertarians are completely lost in a drift. Just think about it, just think about how stupid they are. Dave Smith, who everyone wants to be the nominee, who was the fellow who introduced Trump before his talk, who's already saying the libertarians are stupid for voting for this other guy. Look, Dave Smith ain't that big of a genius himself. He only found Bitcoin this year. You know how stupid he's looked to Bitcoiners for years going on about his shit and not talking about Bitcoin. Now, he's coming to Bitcoin 2023, 2024 this summer in Nashville, and we were really excited when he got into Bitcoin. But what's his excuse? Now, I know it's not a race. You're not so great if you get into Bitcoin early. A lot of stupid people got in early too and understood it early. So I'm not trying to condemn this guy, but just look at the health of the people who are attached to these political parties. That's the best they have. That is the best they have. Now, he's fun. Dave Smith is a funny comedian, but imagine your whole thing is about politics and you didn't hear about Bitcoin or jump into Bitcoin and embrace it until 2023. Okay. All right. So, and he's the best they have by a mile, right? So there you go. Now, again, go back to the group psychology, the status, the things that we see going on. And, you know, the libertarians are bad, right? And the Republicans are bad too, in the sense that it's always, and I love the Daddy Trump memes and all that stuff, but you never want to be in a position that the Republicans are in where Trump has been so, now it's the Democrat fault. He's been so falsely accused. He's been so, the scales have been so tipped against him that people sympathize with him and kind of love him and don't really question him the way they ought to, right? And that's okay. Trump is a special case. But imagine these Republicans who they don't care what Trump does or says. They love him no matter what. Right? Now, I understand why we're here. I understand it's not their fault, but it's not a great place to be from a group psychology point of view. It's not a very great place to be from a status point of view. It's not a great place to be when you think about what the knock-on effects of that. But it's not as bad as what the Democrats have, right? At least Trump is pushing policies. At least they love his policies. At least they more or less understand his policies. They'd change them if he changed them, right? But nevertheless, we love it. He's into Bitcoin now, so they're all going to be into Bitcoin. Part of the reason why I argued this would happen was because the physics of Bitcoin forced this, right? Once Trump enjoyed it, once Trump got into it, you knew there would be an action-reaction. Everything he touches turns into this political polarization. So I made part of the prediction just on the physics of Trump having to embrace Bitcoin for various reasons, which would cause everyone to sort of become ionized and electrically charged about Bitcoin, which is what we're seeing now, which is why the switch from red and blue to orange and green is so important and is happening right before our eyes and will continue to happen. The physics of it are what's forcing it in there. And part of that is the group affiliation. The Democrats don't have any policies to push anymore. It really is just the kind of groupthink that we're talking about and the low status, low self-esteem, low affiliation type of status that comes with that. And that's why you start seeing things like the way they're trying to talk about Trump these days, right? So they're on there saying that he's a lawless psychopath and all these, what he's going to do if he gets elected next time, right? So Scott Adams says Democrats have capitulated on the point that Trump is better on policy and competence because they don't even mention that stuff. All they have is personal insults about Trump. Once you see the pattern of their capitulation, it's funny. And that's why all summer you're just going to see, well, what if Trump did this? What if Trump? It's going to be all these hypotheticals. What if? What if it's the perfect summer hoax type what if he arrests the FBI? What if he shuts down the CIA? It's going to be all of these what if, like a comic book. It's going to be like comic book porn for these people all summer long. But again, the affiliation, all of that stuff finished, right? Because indeed the polarization of this affiliation thing is what we're seeing, right? Being affiliated with these groups is just letting people down an even crazier path. Now, Balaji goes on more about and predicting where this is happening, right? So he's saying here, China used to have a pragmatic theory of limited government. The mountains are high and the emperor is far away. So this is about what is coming for Trump and what we've already seen with Trump and where that's headed. Meaning the state was limited by legality, but by practicality. It wasn't limited by legality, but by practicality. It couldn't be everywhere at once, but now it can, he says. This isn't just China's problem. He says, if you squint out a few years, you may see a Democrat-Communist pact, as unthinkable and yet foreseeable as Molotov-Ribbentrop. So that would be the time, I guess, that I don't know what that is. The furthest left and farthest right on the same side. Today, DNC and CCP, back then Soviets and Nazis. Yeah, I guess that was the Soviet Nazi thing. Yes, right now, Democrats still think they can beat the communists, but after the coming Fiat crisis, they may just join them. Because Democrats are losing their media and money strength, the communists have the manufacturing and military strength. So communists may just sell Democrats the hardware to repress Republicans at home, to repress the civil unrest that may follow after the coming Fiat crisis. In return, the communists get a free hand abroad. This is the same deal the communists cut with Venezuela and many African kleptocracies, sell surveillance gear to the government to keep their populations in check, and in return, China gets a free hand to minerals and resources. So he's saying here that that's basically what we're headed for. And I think most Bitcoiners recognize that, right? I think most Bitcoiners recognize this is exactly the shift from red and blue to green and orange. And that's why I predicted Bitcoin was going to be at the center, because Bitcoin is the pivot point to rebalance politics between green and orange and not red and blue, which seem to be just brainwashing constructs and brainwashing dichotomies and brainwashing contrasts that weren't real. It was the fake prison of two ideas, the red and blue thing. So we're leaving the fake prison of red and blue, Republican and Democrat, where you're stuck with these binary choices, not seeing third rail options very easily. Libertarians absolutely useless in underlining third rail stuff. I rejected the libertarians many years ago, by the way, as just being total stupid people. So that was how we made the prediction, right? We knew that these factors, group affiliation, self-esteem, all of that stuff would fall apart, and you'd have to lean into this power question. Exactly as Balaji is talking about, you'd have to start flexing the power muscle, which is what they used on Trump, which is what they're trying to use on Bitcoin, right? We've seen it in Europe with the unhosted wallets, they call it, and all these other power plays, right? So nevertheless, it's not going to work, as we've said many times, right? It's not going to be able to perpetuate forward. Now, you can see why and the kinds of things that are being used to continue to maintain this stasis, this fake prison of two ideas. The next story I have is, check this video out. It's a British girl who was with her boyfriend watching some kind of TikTok, something or other. And it was about a girl sick of her boyfriend and going on. I think he was late, he was golfing, and he said he'd be home at this time. And then, she's recording herself every 30 minutes. He's not home. He's hours late. So here's the thing. This girl made the video, and the reason why her video has gone viral, I guess it had 2.2 million views this morning, this is what happened. She's reading the comments, for her, a female, reading the comments in this TikTok video, and they're all like, leave the guy, what a jerk, what a blah, 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 blah. In real time, her boyfriend sitting next to her goes and watches the video and reads the comments. Well, his comments were tailored for the boy audience. And all of those are, well, you never heard his side. What a naggy bitch. Da, 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 da. So these two people who themselves were together, one girl, one boy, reading comments about a relationship video on TikTok, are getting fed separate comments. Now, people read comments, right? I read comments. So people read the comments for context to see how people are reacting. Algorithmically, these things are designed to divide us. They're designed so that men and women don't get along. There's no other explanation, right? So when you start seeing how power is wielded in this environment, it looks a lot like this. This is how you try to keep the fake red and blue fake prison of two ideas. This is how you try to stop it from turning into a more natural green versus orange, a more natural follow the money type division in society, rather than the fake division of, oh, you don't believe in science, oh, you want cut your balls and your tits off and then you're healthy, and all of these things, right? So that's why you started seeing so much mental illness being cultivated, because it's the only way to keep people in the fake prison. And this is a perfect example of this being algorithmically enhanced. Was this done deliberately? It's hard to see how not, right? Why would the thing be designed to show different comments based on your viewing habits and algorithmically select those so that you could be pushed and nudged into one opinion about this and have your biases confirmed? Of course, a guy reading this, seeing guys saying what a dumb bitch, they're going to start to say, yeah, they're not going to be in the middle anymore. It's the same with women. So this is tech designed to divide, designed to exercise and exploit power from some over the others. Now, how many people could figure this out? It's not that many, right? It's not that many. But indeed, it's the reason why. And the reason why it goes back to here, right? And the reason why we were able to make this prediction about where we're headed is the goal, right? We've seen security falling apart in the fiat system, status, that's why we call them poor, self-esteem, I mean, they're losers, so it's not going well. Affiliation, the groups they're affiliated with are losers, so that's not going well either. Imagine being a doctor in 2024. Imagine being like, I'm a Harvard-trained doctor. Now there's some sludge people who are going to be like, oh, he's a Harvard-trained doctor. But the rest of us who understand what's going on in the world, we couldn't help but laugh. 10 years ago, Harvard-trained doctor got like 95% respect. Today, it's not 50. It's not 50. That's precipitous, right? So affiliations are now, power being exercised the way it is absolutely making these divisions larger and larger and larger. And that's why we're seeing this division sink in, and the power needs to be exercised, which is forcing the division even more. That's why the goal of the fiat system is, and why I predicted Bitcoin would make it in 2024 the way it is because it can't achieve its goals. There's no way it can achieve them. And because it can't achieve these goals, its goals being what? Avoid economic ups and downs and a stable rate of inflation to smooth out economic growth. Like this convoluted thing that it's designed to do, right? Target. They'll say it's only to target inflation, but they can't target it. It's a moving target because of their actions. So because of that, the whole thing is coming down. And the group psychology of the people still following this stuff looks more and more pathetic. And that's what's driving people away. That's what's recentering and refocusing American politics, and how we made the prediction. It had nothing to do with Bitcoin is great, even though it is, right? It had more to do with watching the psychological decay at the very source of why we need Bitcoin. The fiat entropy, the psychological breakdown of people running their lives off this broken system is now too difficult to ignore, and is actually creating this group psychology issue. And that's how we did the prediction. That was it. That had nothing to do with charts. There's no charts. There's no like, Bitcoin was up in its 20-week moving average. None of that. I love all that stuff, but that's horoscopes, right? It's nothing more than horoscopes. That's what we used to say. We hired Omkar Godboil years ago at CoinDesk, and he's like the best technical analyst around Bitcoin. And people were criticizing us at the time, because at the time, this was like 2016, 2017. CoinDesk was still known more as like an engineering, computer science, cryptography news source. And we said, well, every news source has horoscopes. Come on, read the horoscopes. Don't worry about it, right? Because we had all these devs telling us, what are you doing, right? Group psychology stuff. So there you go. That's what we got. Any more point? Oh yeah. Well, let's contrast it, right? Let's contrast two more quick stories here. let's contrast what we see going on with the capitulation, with the failed goals, and all that stuff. Let's contrast what we saw with Argentina and El Salvador this weekend. Did you see they got together, right? So an El Salvador delegation and a Argentinian delegation got together to talk Bitcoin. The key points, both nations are evaluating possible cooperation agreements related to digital assets. CNV President Silva emphasized the importance of strengthening ties with El Salvador, collaboration agreements, blah, 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 blah. But what you could imagine is Malay trying to access this psychological, this confidence building psychological engine that El Salvador has unleashed. And so there you go. That's where it's headed. That's where it's headed. On the other end, this is where the fiat world is headed. Okay. And it comes from Donald Trump's post yesterday on Memorial Day. I don't know if you guys read it. It's great. So here's Donald Trump diagnosing the group psychology of the fiat industrial complex as it collapses. And it's beautiful, right? He says, "Happy Memorial Day to all, including the human scum that is working so hard to destroy our once great country, and to the radical left Trump-hating federal judge in New York that presided over, get this, 2 separate trials that awarded a woman who I never met before, a quick handshake at a celebrity event 25 years ago doesn't count, $91 million for defamation. She didn't know when the so-called event took place sometime in the 90s, never filed a police report, didn't have to produce the address that she threatened me with, it showed negative, and sung my praises in the first half of her CNN interview with Allison Cooper, but changed her tune in the second half. Gee, I wonder why, under appeal. The rape charge has dropped by a jury." Or Arthur Engeron, the New York State wacko judge who fined me almost $500 million under appeal for doing nothing wrong. Used a statute that has never been used before, gave me no jury, Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, now for Merchant. So basically, a bunch of broken-brained idiots are going to get punched in the face by the ultimate status, self-esteem, power guy, psychologically healthy, stable genius, Donald Trump. So Donald Trump has got the corruption of the election system, the court system, and the financial system in his sights, and he's just going to keep trolling it and nagging it and going crazy on it until everything does indeed switch to green versus orange, which is what we're watching and why it's so funny. So there you go. That's what I got for today. Good morning. That was the best. So that's what we got for today. Let me see. All right. Sadly, a lot of, the libertarians are just the worst, aren't they? Just so stupid, so dumb. They're full and not the cause of all this mess. They're so close, many of them. Yeah, we're talking about the crying, bleeding, for example, like, and it's even in my own orbit. I love David Freiheit, Viva Frei. I went to law school with the guy. He's awesome. You know how many times in the past few years I've been like, David, start just talking about the legal stuff around Bitcoin. You don't even have to be into Bitcoin. Just like start getting interested, right? This and that, right? What's going on? Trump said, or this person said this about Trump, right? Get over it. So there you go. Bitcoin, reframe your worldview. Oops, what am I doing? John says, what's going on that's taking you to Texas? Well, child's birthday, I guess you can say. Not really. But, because I helped create Consensus from the early days and I've been around forever, they always invite me back to the CoinDesk Consensus event. Of course, nothing there turned out exactly as I had imagined, but you love your kids anyway, and I love Consensus in that way. So I'll be hosting a lot of the Bitcoin content there. I'll be doing a couple interviews with the OKX folks. Who else am I doing an interview with? Well, just those kinds of things. So I'll be hosting all the Bitcoin content on the Bitcoin Half Day, which is Thursday. And we'll be talking with all kinds of Bitcoin devs there. There's like a stage just for Bitcoin content. So I've been the host of that for a few years now. But I'll be over there just doing some Texas stuff, eating a lot of barbecue. I love going. I've been going every year for this thing for a while now. It used to be in New York until COVID, and then it moved. But I love Austin as well. I think it's going to move to Toronto next year, which would be helpful for me as far as travel goes. But I'll miss going to Texas because I like the food there a lot. When you get out, if you guys don't know this, when you get out of the just onto the street in Texas, in Austin anyway, it's just barbecue. That's all you smell is barbecue. So it's awesome. I love the food there. It's so good. So I'll be there eating up a storm, enjoying Texas with my friends. Maybe I'll bring my BTC t-shirt. Haven't worn this one on air in a while. It's, even though it says Toronto Baseball Club, I bought it for this. I bought it for that. So there you go. That's why we're heading there. All right, Bitcoin for savings, fiat for spending. The days of bimetallism are spreading to the masses. Yeah, and Trump is going to become a bimetalist, by the way. I mean, he's already talking about it. Like, when he talks about, but I prefer one currency, you don't get to prefer this anymore, right? So it changes. What a great breakup episode, Nolan. Enjoy your Texas adventure. Indeed, I plan on it. I'll try to do shows. I know I've broken that promise last time when I was in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a combination of just the internet sucked, couldn't find a location, finally found one. But there's a reason I do this in the morning and not at night. My energy is just different. And so each time I thought about it, but it's the opposite. It's 8 o'clock at night. I wasn't sleeping. I just had to go to bed. So what we'll do is the Austin, what is it, an hour behind? What's Austin time? An hour or 2 hours behind? An hour or am I 2 hours behind? World clock. Austin, 1 hour behind. Okay, so I'll be going at 7 a.m. We might do a couple short ones. Maybe I'll just do the Moscow time or something. Anyways, I'll let you know. I couldn't find it online. You got to go to Ebbets Field Flannels. They should have it. Ebbets Field Flannels. That's where I buy this. A lot of these old sports things I get at Ebbets Field Flannels out of Seattle. Ebbets Field, the old Brooklyn Dodgers home stadium. Jumper DCS, we are going to be making a religious pilgrimage one day. Yeah, it is. I don't bring my family for that reason, Phil. Yes, it is. It is that. Yeah. But look, if you go outside of the downtown, it's awesome. You don't see any liberal, homeless California shit. And it's a cool vibe and it's beautiful. But that's the reason I don't bring my family there, because I am downtown. That's where my hotel is. And it's just too sketchy. It's just too sketchy. So, but it's only like 4 blocks, right? It's just about 4 blocks. That's where you look, Daniel. No worries. Yeah. Must have been sold out. They come and go with their t-shirt stock. So I would look again. You'll probably find it. The supply changes all the time. So I bet you they'll have it. Just look up Toronto and you should get all the Toronto memorabilia. So it's a liberal cesspool, but it's still an awesome place. I love it. Austin is a neat city. You're not, they're not dripping in. I'll take you on a Tabasco tour. Jumpy or DCS again. It's to me, it's not a tour. It's a pilgrimage. It's not a tour. I'm going to thank the gods for the delicious, amazing pepper they've bestowed on us. Thank God for everything, because I love Tabasco. I wouldn't be able. Tabasco is my favorite. I use Tabasco as a dip. You understand? It's a dip. I don't use it as sprinkle a dot. I fill up a thing, and I fill the little dipping container 2 or 3 times for a plate of chicken wings, for example. I can go through the big bottle of Tabasco's kaput in a week. Done. I drink it. I love it. So there you go. Pilgrimage. All right, team. That's all I got for today. Hope I see you tomorrow. If you're wondering, just go look at Twitter, and I will make a note whether or not we're doing a show. So I doubt I'll be able to do it every day. I doubt I'll be able to do it every single day. Daniel started a Signal group, which we love. Go Join his Signal group, everyone. So I'll let you know on X if I can't make it. I'm gonna try. Intentions, they're good for something, I guess. So I'll try, and I'll let you know how I'm doing. A lot will depend on sleep. A lot will depend. I don't always sleep well in hotels when I'm traveling, so I'll let you know. And I do have, sort of busy days when I'm there. Not crazy, but enough. So there you go. All right. Peace. Have a great day, everyone, and see ya in Texas. Peace.